This is part 2 of making a handmade book using tools you probably already have. In part 1, I covered the tools and materials. You can find the links in this video and in the description. In this part, I'll walk you through the bookmaking process from start to finish. This is not a detailed tutorial. I am simply showing you the overall process of how I make the book using the basic tools I mentioned. If you want the full step-by-step tutorial, stay tuned. Once it's ready, I will add it to the description or somewhere in this video. And if you don't want to miss it, sign up for the tool list below. I will send the tutorial your way as soon as it's available. As a reminder, there will be 4 main steps into bookmaking process. 1. Preparing the paper. 2. Binding. 3. Making the book cover. And 4. Assembling. Let's start with the first step, preparing the paper. I'm making an A5 book, which is around 5.5 by 8.5 inches. So all I need to do is fold these sheets in half. No cutting needed. That also means the lines will run vertically instead of horizontally, like a typical notebook. That might bother some people, but let me show you this. These are notebooks I made using scrap paper. Some pages are half-used, some are blank. When I write in them, I simply use whatever blank space is available. This one is for daily tasks. This one is for journaling. And this one is for weekly reflections. And I'm happy with it because this is my passion, to keep my art lowest and use what I have. So, a notebook with vertical lines, it's very welcome. Now, for folding. I group the sheets into signatures, which are sets of folded sheets. I use a butter knife to press along the fold to flatten and smooth it out. Each signature has 7 sheets. In total, I made 11 signatures. That would give me a book that is about 1 inch thick. Repeat this process for all 11 signatures. Next, we are punching holes into each signature so we can bind them together with thread. The stitch method I'll be using is the French link along with the kettle stitch. I start by making a hole punching template using a piece of cardstock. This is what the final stitches will look like. The kettle stitches are the 2 lines at both ends of the spine. The 3 links sit in the middle. Based on that, the template looks like this, with 8 holes spaced across the spine. Now, I need an awl to punch the holes. I made it by pushing the eye of the needle into an eraser. It stays in place and it's so easy to hold. I punched the holes into the template first. Then punch each signature one by one. Now all the signatures are ready for binding. Let's prepare the thread. I'm using a synthetic thread that's quite thin, so I bulk it up by combining it with 3 additional strands. I also tried running the thread bundle through wax, but it didn't go well because I used paraffin wax, which is brittle. If you can, use beeswax instead. It works much better and helps the thread glide more smoothly. Next, I bound all the signatures together. I'll walk through this step by step in a full tutorial, so stay tuned for that. Here's what the finished binding looks like. All of these sewn signatures together are called a text block. You may notice it's bulging slightly in the middle. That's because the links do not pull the signatures as tightly as the kettle stitches at the edges. This is completely normal. It will even out later when we press and glue the spine. Next, it's time to glue the spine. I clamp the text block between the two stiff books. Then secure everything with clamps to hold it in place. Then I apply the PVA glue along the spine, making sure it's evenly covered. Before the glue fully dries, I slide a cutter blade gently between the books and the text block. This helps prevent them from sticking together. Then I let it dry for about 20 minutes. While it's drying, let's start working on the book cover. I measure and cut 2 pieces of cardboard for the front and the back covers. Then I made a spacer using the same cardboard. This spacer would be used to make the hinge gap between the covers and the spine. Next, I cut a piece of jeans fabric to use as a book cloth. I set everything aside for now so we can finish the text block spine and come back to make the spine cover. At this point, the text block spine is dry. I remove the text block from the press, place it back in, pop it up slightly, and let it stand. Now it's time to add the mull and end bands. Mull is a strip of thin and flexible fabric glued to the text block spine to strengthen it. End bands are the small fabric pieces at the top and bottom of the spine. I made the end bands using a thin strip of jeans fabric and thick thread. Then I set them aside to dry a bit while I glue the mull onto the spine. If you want to keep things simple, you can skip the end bands and just use the mull. In that case, make the mull long enough to cover the entire spine. Once the mull is in place, I attach the end bands to both ends of the text block spine. Next, I make the spine board. To get the width, I measure the thickness of the text block and add the thickness of one cover board. The length is the same as the front and back covers. I do a quick test fit using masking tape to hold everything together. I place the spacer between the spine and the cover boards to create the hinge gaps. Then I trim the covers slightly since they're a little bit too long. Now it's time to attach everything to the book cloth. I glue the boards onto the fabric and trim it. Leaving some space around the edges for flaps. I cut the corners, then glue the flaps over and press everything down. Now the book cover and text block are ready for the final step, assembling. To assemble the spine and the text block, you simply glue them together. The parts of the text block that get glued to the cover are the first and last pages, also called end pages. The spine is not glued. It stays flexible so the book can open. Start by gluing the move flaps onto the end pages. Then glue the entire end page to the cover and close it. Repeat the same steps for the other side. Once everything is attached, smooth out the glue pages and place the book back into the press. If you want to create spine grooves, insert a skewer along each hinge and leave the book in the press overnight. If you prefer a flat spine, you can skip the skewers. Here's the final result after taking the book out of the press. The grooves are prominent and look so good. From the top view, it's really satisfying to see. The overhang is even on all sides. When I open it, the end pages are completely dry and almost wrinkle-free. Everything stayed intact. Now let's check how centered the text block is to the spine board. This is the part I get the most nervous about. I find the midpoint of the book and open it. Then I take a look at the spine. That flexible spine can be a little misleading, so I lift it up and check from the top. Okay, not bad at all. Just a couple millimeters off center. And you can still see that subtle crown in the space between the spines. It's kind of cute. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I made this book using the tools I already own without any specialized bookmaking tools. And you can absolutely do this too. Again, if you want a detailed step-by-step tutorial with these exact specs, stay tuned for the full tutorial. The link will be included below. Thank you so much for watching. Now it's time to put together your own toolkit and make a book you don't want to stop using.